once in a while glance at that camera because I don't think it'll do it, but sometimes the weight of the battery will pick up the back of the camera. And if I'm on automatic, just leaving it on the tripod, all of a sudden I'm looking at the ceiling
Okay.
and we're not looking at the people we're talking to. All right, I'll talk a little loud because the mic's pointing at you guys.
Okay.
All right. Calvin Castine, and I should be slightly off camera. I hope I'm not interrupting your view of Gerald Mayo here. I know I'm not interrupting the view of Al Strack. And we're at the Champlain American Legion on Elm Street in Champlain, across from the former elementary school. And it's today's the 14th of December. Not quite sure when we're going to be putting this on television. And we're here to talk about Post 767 and the future of Post 767 specifically. These gentlemen have invited Hometown Cable down here to talk about that. And for anybody who's in and around the Champlain, Rouse's Point area in the year 2005, closures are very much on people's mind. Wyeth has announced the closure of their plant in 2008. The Champlain Laundry down the street here closed this summer after 70 years or so in business. The gas stations, there's a couple gas stations that closed on Route 11 this year, and as you drive in from the Tallman Road to the Ridge Road, you see a lot of vacant buildings, including the Miramar Mall that Gerald Mayo was very much involved with as town supervisor when that went in not that long ago. And there's been rumor going around that American Legion Post 767 is closing, but that at this point in time is not true. And we're here to talk about those rumors and to talk about, as we said, the future of this post. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the past of Post 767 and the history a little bit of what the American Legion itself is all about. Gentlemen, what are your particular officers at this time? You probably all served in umpteen different positions with the post over the years.
Currently, I'm the commander of the post, have been for several years. Gerald is the adjutant. He's been that position for 40, 50 years. And I'm not exaggerating that. That's correct.
Now, he has been accused many times of being the agitator. Is that true, or just the adjutant?
Well, a little bit of both. But he's really been known around here as the Mr. American Legion. He's been active in the American Legion for all those years. While I've been a member that long, I have not been active until the past few years. Gerald is also the house chairman and the bingo chairman. He takes any hat that we give him.
You both have very nice hats right now.
Thank you.
What is the adjutant position? We understand what a commander is, but what's
the
an
adjutant position is like a first sergeant in the Army. He's, as the house chairman, he is also the one who takes the notes at all the meetings and sends out any correspondence, and he's like a secretary. That's
public relations and secretary?
Yes, but we have public relations chairman.
Okay.
But I've had all those chairs, so yes.
Okay. So that brings us to the present time officer-wise, but back when in the 50s when I was going to school, elementary school at St. Mary's, I can remember walking downtown and going to Lucas's and Jimmy Chevalier's and Margaret's, and there's an American Legion post down there on Main Street.
Right. We were in the Strickland home at that time. But prior to that, across the street, it's burnt now, where the telephone office was. We had the room above it. So when the telephone office moved out, they moved down one step. And then Mr. Claude Lavoie is the one that was commander when they purchased the Strickland home. Foster Strickland gave us a good deal on that because he was pro-veteran, and that's how we got to that building.
And you moved here to the Elm Street location?
1957. We purchased this from Mr. Bill Kennedy. It was the Lyceum Theater at that time.
The new Lyceum?
The new Lyceum, yes. The old Lyceum is where the KCs are. Stand corrected on that. Then we came up here in 1957, and we started renovating the place. We had a slanting floor. I think some of the older bingo players probably remembers the slanting floor and the pigtail lights and the homemade tables, and that's how we got into the bingo. We brought the bingo up from downtown. They had it in the Grange Hall when they used to play on hard cards with corn as markers. We used to give them a little cup of corn as they came in. That's a long time ago. Then from then it came the markers, then the magic markers with the wand that you could take them off the cards, and now we have the dabbers, and they dab the card now, and it's all paper.
It's all throwaway cards.
Oh, I see. So you can take those home and make your own at home and Xerox them?
No,
They're a little hard to duplicate, but you could.
you could, but we have numbers that we keep track of them. No, don't put any ideas in anybody's head there. I'd like to go back a little further. The American Legion here, it was formed back in 1921 by Oscar Breedenberg and Mr. Boy, I can't think of his
Orville
name.
Dunn.
Orville Dunn. They were the key people. If you look at our charter on the wall, it says 1937. That is when the permanent charter was made. Back then, they operated under a temporary charter until the national headquarters could get together, because they formed in France in 1919. And they didn't know what to do with the soldiers at that time. Al, correct me if I'm making any errors here. And they got a group together and said, what are we going to do when we get home? We'll support each other. And then they threw out names, and they came up with the American Legion. Then it moved to the States. The requirement for the American Legion is very simple. You have to serve in wartime. It doesn't make any difference if you served in the statewide or overseas. That's a little different from the other organization, which you have to serve overseas. That's the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And we have good rapport with the Veterans of Foreign Wars. But getting back to that, to the formation, they used to go to everybody's home once every couple months. I have the original minutes. I wish I would have brought them, but we don't want to go into all that. They had 15 members at that time. And Mr. George Gooley, who lived down in the curve there on the Dubois Road, used to walk from there all the way down to Mr. Breedenberg's house or Mr. Dunn's house. And they would have their meetings. And they were, at that time, also covering funerals, because the original minutes shows where they attended a funeral. So we just kept that going up, and then when we came, and now back to 1957 is when we came here. And we've grown since. We've put in ceilings, we put in heating, and all that. And this is where we are now.
Okay. A couple of names you mentioned that are obviously prominent to us three here, but maybe names that a lot of people viewing this are unfamiliar with.
Okay.
Orville Dunn, of course, was a lawyer in town.
Him and his brother, right?
And Oscar Breedenberg is so much associated with the Sheridan. And was he also with the ski factory, Breedenberg with the
No,
ski factory?
his brother was.
Brother was.
And
The family was.
His family was.
Henry Breedenberg.
But Oscar was the plant manager before Jack Zerlo. Is that how it worked, Al Strack?
That's exactly how it worked. He was plant manager for many, many years. Then Jack Zerlo took it from him.
In a peaceful coup now, it wasn't.
Yeah, right. No, when Oscar retired. No, I just want to add one thing to what Gerald said. The American Legion is chartered by the U.S. Congress. It is a national organization, and the dates of eligibility, the dates are set by Congress, not by the American Legion organization. So there's nothing we can do about the dates. As an example, currently the dates are open-ended because there's no declaration of hostilities ceasing.
It started with the Desert Storm, and from then on, it's been open.
Since the Gulf War?
Right, that they're all automatically in. It's
So, but
eligible.
there are periods in there where people, even though they served, and they may have served in South Korea or in
Absolutely.
Germany.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
they served in times of peace, so
Yes.
they're not eligible for the Legion.
Right.
That's right.
And those dates are declared by Congress.
Right, so it's not something that people can
Right.
say, I want to join your Legion and you're preventing me.
Right.
Right.
It's something that Congress decides when the war times were.
Right.
But I understand like Grenada,
Yes.
Panama have been considered.
Yes, they're all in.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a span of time established by Congress that, for those particular timing.
So probably after the Vietnam War to maybe pretty close to that era, there must have been quite a stretch there where
There was.
there,
Big stretch.
where
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
weren't eligible. And you mentioned the VFW. I would dare say it's safe to say that everybody in the VFW is also eligible for the Legion,
Yes.
but only the few who actually went to areas of combat are eligible for the VFW.
Right, right.
So if they're,
They have to have a campaign ribbon,
yeah, so
you know, that's,
they serve stateside or whatever.
right.
We should state that our principles and our objectives are very, very similar. It is basically to represent and support the veterans, both in their domestic needs and in their health needs and the likes of this. So we find a lot of commonality in all these organizations.
And we do work together. This
Yeah.
past year, I've taped the Veterans Day and the Memorial Days observances for post 1418 VFW, and
Right.
you guys worked hand in hand on
Yes.
those.
Locally, we're very close. We attend funerals together. They support us, we support them. And it doesn't make any difference whether they're members of the organization or just plain veterans and not a member of either organization. We'll give military honors to any veteran if their family requests it,
Even if they're not eligible to be members.
even if they're not eligible. Just being a veteran,
Right.
we honor all veterans. That's one of our common goals.
Now, as far as Legion post in our local area, there's, is it 912 in
12
Rouse's
Rouse's
Point, 769 in Shazy,
538 Moores.
538 Davison Post in Moores.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
10 posts in Clinton County, if I remember
Yes.
correctly. There's 10 total posts
We lost
in Clinton
Keysville.
County.
Okay. Is there an Ellenberg, Altona one? I know they got a VFW, but I'm not sure if they have a Legion, huh? No?
No.
Okay. You've had this building. How long have you been running the bingos?
Since 57.
Since 57. So that's
We started
48
almost
years.
immediately. It's not that I want to,
Go ahead.
well, I'm going to say this. We
You want Al to say it?
we had some good, we had some good leadership. I'm going to name a few, and they were all the commanders that since 1956 or 55, 56, early 56 is when I became adjutant, because Mr. Carl Fountain was getting married and he didn't want to tie himself down, and they asked me to take it over, and I've been since. And yeah, we that part is understood what I do.
Uh-huh.
And we started bingo right away, like I said, with the slanting floor, the pigtail lights, and we had the little round markers and heart cards. Your mom came. She loved the bingo.
Oh, yeah.
And we miss her. You know, we're going to tell you why in a few minutes, why we miss her.
She never won.
Oh, yes, she won. Oh, yes, Carol won a good many times. And like you take Albert Morelli was a super pusher. when he took this over, and we had bingo where you couldn't sell a card, you sold a chair. We had to serve donut and a glass of juice of some kind. And Albert and his wife Iona would make it, the lemonade is what it was, and we'd give them a glass of lemonade and that, and then everything evolved, and finally the state of New York says, hey, wait, there's some money there. So they came in and they started regulating it, and we've been regulated since. And that's how our bingo was really a hot item, I would say in the 60s till middle 80s. Then it started, good nights, bad nights, good nights, and then the last year, would you say? I'll let you fill in on that.
In the past year, bingos have been losing favor with the community, not only here, but pretty much across the state. The popularity has just been decreasing. We don't have any explanation as to why, but where we used to have 120, 130 people, we're lucky to get 80 or 90, and lately it's even been lower than that. And then this is pretty much common across the state. A lot of bingos locally have closed. Some of them are still operating successfully, but there's a lot of them that have actually closed up.
St. Mary's rarely has a bingo. They were a regular Monday night fixture for very, very many years.
Yes.
And that helped, has certainly helped support the school, and of course the Knights of Columbus ran it for many years also. But that's fallen by the wayside, and you would think with one less bingo, even though it wasn't the same night, that it would help.
It did help us for a while. Bingos took a nosedive about 3 years ago, and we hung in there, and for those 3 years, we've been doing very well. It's been one of our major fundraisers and major support of our functions here.
Okay, I'm going to take a check on that camera and be right back.
Okay.
It's still running. I don't see a red light, and I've never been on that side of the camera, so I didn't know if we needed to have a red light or not.
Well, you always hear about looking at the red light. I don't see one either.
No. All right. Picture looks good. All right. Give myself a wave. Okay, I am back. The camera's on a tripod, and I don't like to take too many things for granted. And assuming that camera is still running was taking it for granted, but it's still going. We've been talking about the bingo, and how another thing is I was at the bowling alley this week, and bowling has seemed to have waned. There's just certain things that
they run a cycle, it seems like, and
seems as poker, as
Oh,
televised poker's taken over, right?
Yeah.
People's interests change, and maybe it'll come back. Actually, this leads into one of the areas that we want to talk about today. We have come to the conclusion, after much soul searching and looking at our activities, that we can no longer profitably operate a bingo. So we have suspended our bingo, or will suspend our bingo, with the Thursday night game this week, which will be the 15th. It will be our last bingo. We hope to reopen them again in the spring and give it another try. We have had many people say that they're looking forward to the spring session, so we will give it a try then. It's been a hard decision for us because it is our basic source of income.
Well, I would think, as far as your bingo season, that the winter makes it tough because you've got to keep this place warm if you've got people
Yeah.
coming in here. But in the summertime, when the sun is shining, you probably got people that are reluctant to come inside. So winter would probably be your best season if you didn't have the extra expense. Is that true?
From an
or-
attendance standpoint, the winter normally is better in attendance, yeah.
But your
Our
overhead-
expenses are a little higher, but the attendance is higher during the winter months.
But your
Although
overhead is higher,
we
so-
did air condition this place 8-10 years ago, and that makes it a pleasant place to come for the hot summer nights. People come in here and have a cool place to play bingo. So that has kept our crowd up fairly well. We don't know why it's gone down, but the downturn has been most notably in about the last 3 months, and it just doesn't seem to come back up. And as we get into the holiday season, we anticipate that it'll even be lower.
So rather than fight a losing battle for the next
Right.
couple of months, you're gonna,
Right. With the disposable paper and everything, we can't make ends meet at the rate we're going. Because about 25% of our income from any bingo night goes to the paper, goes to the
Really?
disposable paper. Anywhere from 22 to 25%. Not cheap.
no. So why is that better than using the old system with the, is it? because-
People like it better,
Really?
and it's a lot easier on cleanup and the likes of this.
You know, not picking up little
Right,
round
not picking
things
up corn and...
Corn and all that, yeah, we did all that. Yeah.
Well, corn would be good. You could just
Yeah.
get some chickens in here and let them clean up the place.
Right,
for you.
and sell the eggs, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? No, thank you.
Hard cards also had a life. I mean, they get scuffed up, and they'd have to be replaced every once in a while as well, but this is a little more expensive, but a little easier to handle.
And you have to maintain a good PA system. You have to have a good caller system, which we have there, and then we have a flashboard up there to assist the callers, the players.
And you've got to give a big enough prize that people will attend. But
Right, that maybe we're thinking of maybe reworking our prize money and maybe shortening the game.
Bingos have gone out of existence for two reasons. One is they have priced their prizes so high that they couldn't make ends meet. Many of the bingos that went out of existence did just that. In an attempt to entice the people to come, they gave away prizes, beautiful prizes, high prizes, but they couldn't
Yeah.
meet the expenses.
Right.
And the other thing is just people plain lost interest no matter what the prizes were.
Okay, well, I hear the phone ringing. Do either of you guys have to answer that, or you?
I suppose I'd better.
All right, we'll take another break.
You edit these, don't you?
Well, I'll edit this part here out. Yeah, this little bit in between here. Yeah, that's about it. All right, back again. While the camera was off, Gerald, you were mentioning our good friend Cleo Smiley Willette.
Yes, Smiley was another one of those gentlemen like Albert. He's the one that had the ceiling put in, the air conditioning, and he was a hard worker. And yes, Smiley was a very good commander.
Yeah, I can remember in the 60s coming here when I was working at the shop, and Albert Morelli was running dances here on Sundays, and coming down and
Yep.
standing around. He just asked me to come down and help the chaperone. But
Yep. We had teenage dance here.
Yeah.
We had the Starfires, which was Dean and Dale and
yeah, then the Gemtones, which was
Yeah.
the
them
Morellis,
two.
and
Yeah, Morelli, Andy's outfit. You're right.
yeah, and I remember the Ramrocks and some of the others that were
Right.
here. And but also at that time, right around that time, Carl Morehouse approached me one day and said, and Albert Morelli said, "You know, we want to help." I had a basketball team going at that time, and we want to
Right.
help support that. So Legion was very, very good to me. And over the years, particularly since I've had hometown cable, there's three different types of groups that I never say no to. So when you guys said, come on down, one is the veterans, whatever veteran group asks me to do something, I'm there. Churches, doesn't matter which religion it is, if they need something, I'm there. And the other is the fire departments, EMS, that type of people. There's some people in your community you just don't say no to. And
Well, we have been supportive of the community. The Red Cross, were the disaster place, if you will, for if there's a major disaster, which we did during the ice storm. Commander Strack here he was here for a few days, weren't you, Al?
About a week or so, yeah.
And
as a refugee or as worker?
A little of both. Little of both.
we're all refugees.
Yeah, we're all refugees of one sort or another.
No.
We've concentrated on talking about bingo, but actually our purpose is a lot broader than that, as Gerald started to mention. And over the years, we've been very supportive of all type of community activity. Everything from sponsoring hockey teams to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We currently sponsor the Boy Scout troop here in town. It's a new troop, just starting up. The place is open for Girl Scout meetings as well as the Boy Scout meeting. We have activities, county activities. The WIC program meets here monthly, or uses the rooms monthly to distribute their information and services. We have daily Meals on Wheels program that works out of here. They feed anywhere from 5 to 15 people daily, besides delivering, some 60 meals out.
60
So
something.
you got 5 to 15 that show up.
Show up here.
to eat, and then,
Right.
and the Meals on Wheels part delivers
Right.
it to their door.
Right.
That material is all delivered here, and they split it up, and their drivers take it from here to Rouse's Point and Champlain residents. And we have the AA people meet here on a weekly basis. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of them, but it's been a community center for the town of Champlain or the village of Champlain.
Even the U.S. Customs are looking at this place. If there is ever a terror activity at the border, they would evacuate here. We're all set for them.
We've established that. They have some materials stored here that they could move from the border section right to here and operate there. And Gerald also said we are certified Red Cross shelter. Can't remember all the other things we are, but there's 2-3 other organizations use this as a staging point for whatever activities may occur.
Now, I asked you guys to put the lights on, and when you put the lights on, you put the lights on. There must be 30 or 40 sets of lights that are on
Yeah.
right now. As everybody who pays the electric bill knows, unless you live in Rouse's Point, the electricity is kind of expensive, and then heating a place this size is got to be an enormous...
There's a lot of heat loss when they open those doors, but getting back to what we do on the school, we have Boy State, and that's a program by which they select a junior in high school, and he is sponsored by us. We pay his fees, and he goes to whether it's Colgate or Morrisville or Siena College, whatever college that they go to. They go for a week. They set up a whole state. They start from councilman to supervisor to the whole state, and then they have a governor. And if you're so lucky to be elected governor, you go to national, which is the president, and you get to go to Washington for a week. And it's a good program. Then we have oratorical. That's a program that's a little hard to sell, Al, would you say? Because it requires the contestant to really get familiar with the Constitution and he makes a prepared speech 8 to 10 minutes. And he has no notes when he gives it. And he has to put a lot of time in it. But it pays off. If you go to national, you get $18,000
Scholarship.
scholarship,
These are all aimed at scholarship
all
funds.
scholarships.
So outside of the bingo, how do you guys account, if you're gonna close up the bingo, and that sounds like your biggest source of revenue?
Well, it has
how-
been lately, but over the years, we've had different sources of revenues, which we are probably going to have to look at reinstituting some of them. It used to be our auxiliary, put on weddings, both catered the food as well as decorating the hall and doing all these things for them. We have now just reverted to only renting the hall for weddings. We'll operate a bar for people, but we don't do any of the food service. We're going to have to look at doing that again. Whether or not we can make that happen still is up for grabs.
What is your capacity here? When you
About
book the wedding,
about 250 people.
up to 250?
Right.
Right.
So, talking with you guys yesterday, one of the things you're going to be exploring is there are some local restaurants or food preparers that might be in the food preparation business
Right.
and don't have a site. So
Right.
if people who have that type of business are interested, don't wait for you to call them, contact you guys
Right.
Right.
and work together.
Anybody that's got a catering service or would like to get in the catering business, we'd be interested in talking to them to see what kind of an arrangement we could work out with them. It would hopefully be mutually profitable for both of us.
And when Al mentioned a license, we have a bar. We have a license. And if you come in here, we get what they call what is it, Al?
Well, what we have is a club license,
Yeah.
and for special events, we have to get a catering permit.
Catering permit,
all right,
that's it.
for the bar.
Uh-huh.
It's not a public license, it's a club license. Right? But we have the capabilities of getting proper authorization to serve any gathering that comes in.
See, I'm not too familiar with that. That's his department.
Over the years, I've come to several reunions here. I know
Up until a
5
few
years
years ago,
ago.
we weren't licensed of any kind. We are now.
Oh, we had a Quebec license.
Yeah, we had a good.
Has the statute statute of limitations run out on you guys?
Right now, we are open to any source of revenue that we might come up with. We've got a back room here that's 40 by 25. If that would be of any interest to people for office space or anything, we'd entertain any kind of reasonable offer, as long as it fits in with our priorities and our purpose and fits in with the community here. We have neighbors, and we respect those neighbors.
Uh-huh.
So we would be open for most any kind of discussion.
So if people out there have got ideas on how to profitably utilize the space here, profitably in your sense, you'd be willing to talk to them?
Yes.
And you've got, obviously, there's several people on your officers in your committee. So I know yesterday in talking to you guys have difference of opinion sometimes on
Oh, yeah.
on things. So
Oh, yeah.
the committee would decide if this was something that was
Right.
compatible to.
Whatever happens here has to have the approval of the membership.
And speaking of membership, how large is your local membership?
We have about 140 people right now.
Which is down from, because I'm sure.
265, 75. We've lost a lot of veterans deceased. It's wicked. I was going through a roster. I can even show you our picture there that we have of our firing squad, or our squad that we had. 30-some members. I think 2 or 3 are living.
Yeah.
It's scary. I hate to even look at those pictures, because I might be next.
Well, one of the most popular shows that Bob, Ben, and I did was right here at the Senior Citizens Party back in 90 or 91 or so. And every time we run that, you start looking at all the people who aren't here
Oh, yeah.
anymore.
Yes.
It's just so sad.
Yeah, because you ran it through, and my wife and I looked through, and it was Lawrence Ashline and his wife,
you
and
can just
we're
go
just
on and
going
on
on
and
and
on.
on and on.
See, the largest source of eligible veterans was World War II, just because of the size of that whole conflict and the number of people that were involved. Since that time, of course, many of those people have aged and have passed away. The Korean conflict and the Vietnam conflict,
They're still young.
they're still, they make up probably the largest share of the Legionnaires right now.
Probably the Korean more than the Vietnam, though. Huh?
The Koreans have been more receptive to joining these organizations than the Vietnam, although the Vietnam veterans, there's a fair number that belong. There's
But
a
they
lot
have
of them
their
that
own
don't,
organization.
that we have not been able to get through to yet, but
Well, I think that's one thing. If people out there watching now, women are also eligible if they've
Oh,
served
yes.
in the.
Oh, yes.
yes.
We
Now,
call them win-alls. That's women in the American Legion.
Okay, don't go calling them names there.
No, I'm not. I know what I'm calling them. And we had one lady, Mrs. Duquette, Rita Duquette.
Yes.
She was either a major or a captain in nurses corps. She was our treasurer here for a while.
Yeah.
Very nice lady to work with.
Yeah, back here, when I talked about Carl Morehouse and Albert Morelli, asking me to come down here, and she was one of the ones on the committee. and
Right,
Mrs.
right.
Duquette,
Yes.
Clifford Duquette's sister.
Right.
When you go back to World War II, women were a scarcity, a rarity, I
Compared to
guess,
now.
Compared to now. Women in the military are pretty common now. So we hope to see more and more women take an interest in the American Legion and join.
So, and more people that are eligible to join. I mean, there's people in their 50s and
Right.
early 60s and late 40s that served in that Vietnam era who probably have been reluctant, but now the guys, you are old enough to join. You know, they figured it was maybe they figured it was their father's era or whatever.
Right, right.
But you know, and to get that young blood in here, well, they can
Yeah, they can
can
do a
take
lot of
over.
things, you know, that's,
you know, they've got something ready-made here. They haven't got to start from the ground floor like you guys have had to do.
yes.
And so before this comes to a halt and has to be restarted, now's the time to revive this and to save.
The organization, the buildings and everything are here. If we could get that interest of that age group or younger age groups than what we are now,
Gulf War on.
Gulf War on,
Panama
they
or
could shape the
Grenada.
organization any way they'd like as long as they follow the principles.
Right.
And the principles are just very, very basic,
Yeah, because you elect your officers once a year. Is that how you?
Yes.
right?
So
Right.
yeah, I'm sure if they started showing up at your meeting, when are your meetings?
Our meetings are the first Tuesday of every month
At 7 o'clock.
at 7 o'clock.
Down
Yeah,
right here at the.
right here, yeah.
And if they're watching this and their service time makes them eligible, doesn't matter if they're in Altona or
No.
Rouse's
Doesn't
Point, if
make any
they want to
difference
come
at
to this
Right,
legion, they can
I
join
wa-
any legion they want. Just like
Right,
somebody
I went bowling this morning. I'm not old enough yet, but I do bowl with the seniors on Wednesday morning. And a gentleman that's a member of this post was standing up there, and he motioned me over, and he gave me his dues money. You know, that's.
How much-
We've got to do something.
How
The
much
young
are your
ones,
dues? How much are your dues?
$20
$20.
Yep.
So,
Annually.
annually.
so at 150 members, you're only making $3,000.
Well, yeah, but we
On
don't get
dues.
to keep all that. We only keep, 50 cents?
You know, only a very small
Very
portion of
small.
that.
So that doesn't keep your doors open.
No,
No.
that goes to district and county district and department and national. They all take a little bit of it. We do the work.
No, the income that we need to keep this building going has got to come from activities that we generate, be it bingo or raffles or weddings or whatever.
And for that, you need membership.
For that, we need membership.
Yep.
We need membership and activities that will interest the locals, so they will take advantage of it
Right.
and bring in that business.
Right, yeah, you can have activities that will generate income.
Right.
Not activities that are going to spend income.
I think it was 6 meetings or 7 meetings. I try to count them in my mind. The auxiliary puts on a dinner for us before our meetings. I mean, that's a free meal for you. Just come on up. Right?
Okay, if I take off my hat?
Yeah, you can take it.
Okay. Yes. About half the meetings that we have, the auxiliary will put on a pretty simple meal, but a nice meal. And we did this as a incentive to get people to our meetings, and they really hasn't done that, but it's made it very pleasant for the rest of us. So we enjoy it.
So you're going to keep going with it.
Right.
You know, but it's not just the Legion that, if you talk to the Knights of Columbus, if you talk to the fire department, if you go to church on Sunday, you know that attendance is down and everything.
Yeah. There's so many things now competing for family time and for family interests that it just is a hard road to hold on any of these organizations.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's out, gone to youth soccer or what their excuse is, but.
A little bit of everything. They each
Yeah.
get their chunk of time, and
Well, you know, if they're sitting at home, I hope they're at least watching hometown cable. And so
Right.
that's,
And support hometown cable there. By golly.
well, that's, you talk about your membership getting older, that's my problem too at hometown cable is, the people who support me are the people who are older and appreciate what we've got.
Right.
The younger people, the kids who graduated in the last 20 years, I could probably count them all on my two hands here, the number who support hometown cable, who's benefited the most.
Yeah. You
But
showed all their
parents
all their
and their
ball
grandparents
games.
appreciate
Yeah.
it, but they don't. So it's no matter what you look at, the story seems to be the same. That the younger generation just isn't a volunteer group.
well, their interests are elsewhere.
Yeah, right. So we're not condemning anybody. We're just
Right.
pointing out the facts of life. Do you guys want to take a quick tour around the facilities to just show what the building
Yeah.
looks like?
We
Be happy to.
appreciate that, and I'll take my hat off there.
All right.
And I'll show my 50-year patch. How's
50
that?
years. All right. Anything else you want to mention at this point before we get
Who's
up
the
to-
young man that just came in?
Somebody pushing a cart.
No, I don't think so, Calvin. I think that people are pretty well aware of the American Legion. We've got a good reputation in the community, I'm quite sure. I hope it continues that way. It is our intent to keep this place going and to continue to give services as long as we're capable of doing.
Okay, let's take a walk. Okay, bingo players will probably be familiar with this entry right here. We're on the Elm Street door, and this is where they buy their tickets for the bingo.
Right.
That's
Well, the
correct.
first one is Canadian Exchange.
Each window has a special.
Right, and then that's entrance, and that's extra cards. And that table there is our early birds.
Okay.
Okay?
Hey, I'm not a bingo player, so your office is here. And is this roughly the way it was when it was a theater? This size of a little entryway?
No, the entrance was over this far,
Over here.
over here. And these holes in the floor is where the ticket booth was.
Okay.
And then we arranged it. This was just a little catch-all at that time.
But the wall was there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that wall
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah, so
Then we
This
put all
was the entrance.
This was the
Configured
entrance.
a little differently.
that's where the movie posters would have been and all the coming
Right.
events and so on.
And this is where the projection operator went up.
Upstairs, yeah.
Upstairs, and
And with a,
they're blocked off.
yeah,
now.
they you put a new ceiling in, lower ceiling, obviously.
Right.
But I can remember it wasn't that long ago that you still had your little colored lights above that little
Right.
thing up there.
Well, we had to abandon those. We have a different set of lights
Oh, there's
now.
still, you got some, but weren't they right along that board?
Yes, they were. They
Yeah.
were
Right behind that board? and shot
neon
up.
lights.
Yeah, they're still there.
Are
They're
they?
indirect lighting.
Yeah,
I see.
but they don't work.
Oh, yes, they do.
Well, barely, but that gave it that movie theater look, and
Yes.
so this was a movie theater, the new Lyceum, not to be confused with the original Lyceum. The original Lyceum, as mentioned earlier, was turned into eventually the Knights of Columbus Hall, so it's ironic that both those theaters became clubhouses for the
Then you had the print shop. Don't forget underneath.
underneath, oh yeah.
The, yeah,
Yeah,
McClellan's print shop.
But I think he was there back when it was still a theater, wasn't he?
Right.
Okay, now this is the part here that the restrooms are over here, but this is the part here that would be available for
Right.
banquets, and
Banquets,
parties,
weddings, any kind of parties that,
This is still original. This
that there was there back
There.
when the theater was operating.
And we started from here, and the floor went down, and I'll show you where the stage was down there. So this floor went on a slant.
So they had a stage, so in addition to movies, they might have had
Right.
acts here.
Right. But the big curtain hung there, and then on the tops of those things where you see those flowers were air conditioning. What they were was just two big fans that blew the air on you. That was the air conditioning then.
Okay, and this will hold up to 250
right.
Yes, comfortably.
comfortably.
Yes.
Okay. So, small gathering, big gathering, you could work with anybody on that.
Yes.
Work with anybody.
Okay, you'll throw in Paul Barker for free if,
Yep, he manages our bar, and he's getting ready for a wedding this Saturday,
aha.
and he'll probably have one person helping him.
He sells one, drinks one, sells one, drinks
Well,
one.
he's not drinking very much these days, so
So your profits have gone up.
our profits have gone up.
And back here, you've got a kitchen.
Yes.
Checks it out
All right,
for
you're,
the senior citizens.
you were just saying this kitchen is county approved because
Yeah.
the county board of health has recently
Yes.
pulled the
Right.
hammer down on everybody. So this
Mhm.
county is
It's right here.
county approved, certified, board of health.
Yep,
So, because the senior citizens' food comes in and out of here every day, or it's 5
Yes.
days a week at least.
5 days a
Yes.
week.
And if an outside caterer wanted to use it, you would allow them full use of the,
Yes.
Of the kitchen
There's
for
certain-
whatever-
There's certain county health department requirements that they have to meet, and of course, that would be their obligation.
yeah, a lot of the stuff has to be prepared on site now.
Yes.
You can't just import it.
Right.
So, this kitchen has served you fellows well over the years,
Served us very well over the years.
and the ladies.
The ladies normally take care of it. And since they've kind of slacked off their interest a little bit, we haven't got the full use of it that we used to use.
Well, like many things, their numbers are down too. I'm
Their
sure.
numbers are down, their age are getting older like we are, and so on, so.
You know, every year when I cover the Memorial Day and the Veterans Day services, it just affects me. Let me finish this up outside here. We've got a better view than the kitchen here, but they read off I think it's Memorial Day where you read off the list of the deceased members, and none of their family members are there. You know,
Well,
there you are
that's-
honoring the memories of these,
That's sad.
These
but that's
veterans
the way
and-
it is.
you know, not even the family members can show up to a,
But this is where we come in. We make sure that they are remembered and keep the tradition up.
all right, and you've got downstairs.
Yep.
There is some office space up in back of where the projector used to be also, right?
Right, there is a room up there that can be used for office space. Right now, we have bingo players up there. It was a smoking room until I think a year ago that the smoking ban went on all the way across the state. Then, of course, there is no smoking
So
place here now.
No smoking room.
No smoking rooms, right?
Right.
Before that, we isolated smokers by sending them upstairs or down in the back.
Okay.
And upstairs, we have a bathroom with a shower, and that's for if they have an emergency. We had one here last year, a flood. We had a few people up here. They were able to shower, and it's there for their use.
Yeah, so when you're using this as a shelter, that comes in very, very handy. And I'm sure in '98 they got a lot of use.
While you're going by here, I just
Okay.
want to make a note that there is a room upstairs here.
Over here too?
Yes, and the Boy Scouts use it
I see.
a lot, right? Is that where they keep their equipment, and we keep our rifles, and all our gear is kept up there.
All under lock and key.
Yes, yes, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. I don't think you would by the impression that they're both.
They're not accessible. All right, and here, a ubiquitous no smoking sign, a lovely pool table, and this is nice and warm back here. And as I recall, when this bar was put in with these glass blocks that people were able to buy.
Yes, that was a fundraiser. That was a fundraiser.
So,
Each person there sponsored a block.
And the gentleman that built this is Mr. Bill Rye. And you can see his artistic work here with blocks.
and he was also instrumental with that little monument outside.
Yes, yes.
Bill Rye has done a lot of volunteer work in the community, and there's a couple of good examples here at the Legion of what Bill has done.
Yes.
A great mason.
Right.
Not a Freemason, but he did work for free.
Yeah, that mirror up there comes from, remember the mirror factory in Altona?
Irona?
Yeah, Irona, is
In
it?
Irona, yeah.
Oh, well, in the Tri-City area then. This came down on a truck, on a bed of hay. It's one solid piece, and it was a trick to put it up there.
I can imagine. Was it India glass it was called?
Yes,
India
yes, yes.
They had a big fire there, and that place is no longer in existence.
We have not operated this bar for quite a number of years. There used to be a lot of activity back here. That's why the pool table and the likes of this. But it's become a room that is served its time, I guess you'd call it.
When you have your meetings, do you meet back here?
Yes. The auxiliary, if the auxiliary meets the same night, they use a big hall and we use this room here. When we have county meetings, sometimes we switch around, but yeah.
Okay, and you would be open to suggestions if people wanted to talk about using this room?
That's right. Yes.
It'd have to be something that's compatible with your organization, but if people have ideas out there, you would entertain those.
Right.
Right.
So that's it. I guess American Legion Post 767 is looking for ways to maintain the status quo, at least. Hopefully, obviously, you'd like to improve the situation, but if you can at least keep your head above water right now, that would be great.
We are looking for ways to get enough income to maintain our building, and if we can maintain our building, we can maintain our community services and the likes of it. We would hate to lose the building because it would be difficult for us to operate without it.
Yeah, if you got a place, you got some identity that way.
Right.
Okay, Al Strack, Gerald, Mayo, anything else that we should say at this point?
Not really.
Okay.
You
We
know,
thank you kindly for spending some time with us. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
He said that with a straight face too, Gerald.
Yes. Now,
Well, I've learned to do that.
support hometown cable. Yes, I do it, and I think they have good programs. You can be choosy. If you don't want to watch this program, you just turn us off. You know,
That's right.
what hometown cable does a good job on covering everything. And I think the whole thing today that we want to get across to the people. We are stopping bingo tomorrow night, the 15th.
Right, which will be, won't be
Right.
tomorrow night when people are watching this, but December 15th,
Right, well-
2005.
But not
But the
closing.
building is going to be here, the doors are going to be here, opening.
And so is the American Legion
Right.
as an organization.
Right, and you're hoping the bingos will be back, at present time, the bingos hopefully will be back in the spring.
Yes,
That's the
Yes.
plan.
that is our plan.
All right. and if you-
Even if we opened only from May to October, you know, we're going to try everything we can, you know, and do everything we can, right, Al?
Yeah.
It's,
Okay. Well,
yeah, thank you.
I wish you best of luck, because I think having an active American Legion is important for any community. And it's certainly been important for the community of Champlain over the years. Thank you, guys.
Yep,
Thank you, Calvin.